Today on So What? 5 signs that ChatGPT has sparked a high-stakes conversation affecting every teacher in every classroom and why we all need to be a part of it.
Every parent, every school, student, and teacher recognizes that since the moment that ChatGPT and these chatbots came out, kids are wondering, can I use this for homework? Teachers are wondering, how do I need to adjust my classroom now that this technology is out there? Do I show this to my kids? He also asked, what's the point of school if this can do all this stuff?
That was Hattie Partovi, CEO of Code.org and one of the leaders of a new collaboration between some of the most prominent players in education who aim to tackle these very questions. It's called TeachAI, and here's how Partovi explains what they're trying to do.
The goal of TeachAI is to bring together tech leaders such as OpenAI, Microsoft, and Amazon who are creating these technologies together with education leaders all across this country and on all 6 continents to answer these questions about how should education evolve for an age of AI.
So how should education evolve in the age of AI? Well, it depends on who you ask. Sal Khan is the founder of Khan Academy and one of the education leaders on the steering committee of TeachAI. Khan has thoughts about the future of education and how to get there.
But I think we're at the cusp of using AI for probably the biggest positive transformation that education has ever seen. And the way we're going to do that is by giving every student on the planet an artificially intelligent but amazing personal tutor. And we're going to give every teacher on the planet an amazing artificially intelligent teaching assistant.
TeachAI and Sal Khan, well, they're not alone. This week, Edsurge listed 4 other projects with similar goals. So what? How many of the projects or generative AI will ultimately affect you and me is still pretty cloudy, with a chance of rain. But a couple of things are clear. Education is at a significant fork in the road, and we have a lot of decisions to make before the next school term. We'll also need to collaborate and communicate to find the best path forward. So it's exciting to see the education community coming together for the future of teaching and learning. And it's a smart move, because plagiarism and cheating, well, they're minor compared to the more significant risks that we'll need to help our students manage. Jeffrey Hinton is the godfather of AI. Here's his short list.
There's the risk of producing a lot of fake news so nobody knows what's true anymore. There's the risk of encouraging polarization by getting people to click on things that make them indignant. The risk of putting people out of work, including risks of bias and discrimination.
But the risk that every teacher and the TeachAI steering committee will need to keep an eye on can be summed up in 2 words.
Common Core.
Common Core.
Common Core.
In 1 year, the Common Core has gone from majority approval to majority disapproval.
How did this happen? And could the popularity of generative AI take a similar nosedive? Former Assistant Secretary of Education Diane Ravitch is an education historian who tells us exactly how a good, well-intentioned program went from hero to zero.
Because it was done in stealth. Nobody even knew who was on the committee to write it. And at the time it was being written, very few people were aware that it was being written. There was no participation. There was no effort to bring in people who were specialists in early childhood education. I mean, there were no teachers on the writing committee.
The Common Core plan unraveled because it ignored the voices closest to students. So parents and teachers pushed back, and the public discussion quickly went down the tube. The good news is that TeachAI is inviting the public to the table to join the conversation and be part of the process. Just go to teachai.org and sign up. We accepted their invitation, and we encourage you to do the same. Why? Because as we speak, the entire recipe of education is being rewritten, and you're either at the table or you're probably on the menu. Next up, what new artificial intelligence is coming soon to a classroom near you? And how can we separate what's hot from what's hype? So here's the headline. ChatGPT fever has investors pouring billions into AI startups, no business plan required. And here's the fine print. AI companies are cranking out new products that will rapidly make their way to your classroom next term. Berber Jin at the Wall Street Journal gives us a peek at what's going on behind the curtain.
Before that company even had a name or a business plan or a way to generate revenue, venture capitalists were hounding these 2 founders, trying to lodge an early investment in their company. You're seeing really high prices that VCs are paying for companies that don't have a set business plan. You see rounds coming together in a matter of weeks, due diligence not being as thorough as you would normally expect.
There's no question that great products and companies are going to be built, said Matt Turk, an investor specializing in AI at First Mark Venture Capital. But much of this will not end well. So what? Well, this might be a good time to look back at the lessons we learned in 2013 when the second largest school district in the U.S. decided to put iPads in the hands of every student. The bottom line? The plan was half-baked, the software and hardware had technical issues, and the incomplete curriculum made it nearly impossible for teachers to teach. The school district became the poster child for getting caught up in the hype around new technology. Oh, now what? Well, here are two of the big takeaways we grabbed from that billion-dollar iPad stumble. The first is that whenever an exciting new piece of AI shows up at our door, email, or school, it's a good idea to pause and ask ourselves, what problem are we trying to solve? How will this tool help us solve it? And how do we know? The second takeaway was true 10 years ago, is true today, and will probably be true a decade from now. Those who check in with teachers and students before hitting the technology buy now button tend to do better than those who don't. Finally, we close with a fascinating news story. Scientists at the University of Texas have found a way to use artificial intelligence to scan brain activity and transcribe people's thinking. We have no idea where this will lead or what you think about this use of AI, but one day we might be able to find out without asking you. I'm Jim Brower.
BRN, where educators share what works.